Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher, and much appreciated you guys checking today's video out. Today we're going to give tips and advice for fishing creeks, for wading creeks and maybe some small rivers like that. We've talked a little bit about fishing farm ponds and bank fishing and that type of stuff. There's a lot of guys that don't fish out of boats, and ponds and creeks are some of the best places that the public can access, and it's really how I got started. My very first fishing experiences, and actually how I fished for about first 3 or 4 years of my life when I started fishing, was wading creeks. There's a couple creeks in Joplin, Missouri. One was called Turkey Creek, just down from my mom and dad's house. It was a small creek, didn't have a lot of fish in it, but I did catch my early bass there. Then I went to some bigger creeks like Center Creek, Shoal Creek, and I've spent a ton of time wading creeks, so I'm going to give you guys some tips and advice on that. So first of all, let's talk about creek wading. Creek wading is the best way to catch them in there. There's a lot of advantages to wading a creek. You're really completely immersed in nature. You get to see a lot of stuff besides just fishing. You get to see all different types of wildlife. You will see snakes. You'll see just whatever. It's really a great experience as far as just being out in nature goes. But there's some tips I want to give you guys that'll really help you guys catch some more fish and make the experience better. First of all, guys, you got to have the right shoes on, because most of the time when you're wading creeks and stuff, you've got that what I call snot rock. There's some super slick rock out there. Do not wear sandals when you're wading out there. You're gonna hurt your feet when you do that. I learned the hard way with that. So the best thing to wear, guys, is just a pair of old tennis shoes with socks on it. Socks will make it a lot more comfortable, especially because you're going to get some gravels and stuff in your feet. So I put a good pair of socks on, just some old tennis shoes to wade with, shorts, that type of stuff. Next thing you do is when you're wading, you need to shuffle your feet slowly. Don't ever go too fast, and don't ever pick up your feet too hard, because it causes too much drag. You're going to get too much sediment caused up, and it's going to make you fall down. So take slow, methodical steps and sort of slide your feet along the bottom and sort of feel your way around there. That'll keep you from falling in and injuring your feet. That's just a little advice right off the bat with that. Next with that, guys, you always want to wade upstream. You never ever want to wade downstream, because if you wade downstream, all of the sediment that you create from walking is going to get flushed down in front of you, which will not help the fishing out. So by fishing upstream, you're going to always be in clean water. You're going to be able to control and manipulate your lures better. So that's another good thing with that. Next, guys, is try to stay away from any bridge overpasses or public access. You're going to always find that the best stretches of any creek or river when you're wading it are the ones furthest away from public access, because most people that have public access to creeks, they stay close to the bridge. They very seldom get out of sight of it. So really about the first quarter mile on either side, maybe not quarter mile, or maybe quarter mile on either side of a bridge, fishing usually is not very good. So try to really concentrate your efforts as far away from any public access as you can do there. Now the next thing is, like, where are these fish going to be at? The places you want to look for in creeks is you need to look for deeper water and washouts. That's the whole key with it. Creeks, first of all, they change all the time. As far as what the floods will cause different sandbars to shift and different water depths, but there's always some deeper sections, and the fish are always going to be in those deeper holes in the creek. So don't spend your time on flat, uniform areas like that. Try to stay into areas where, they're the outside channel turns, maybe washouts where there's some root wads. Logs and root rods are always present in creeks, and they're the number one structure. If you can find a root wad in a creek, there's always fish around it, because the root wad will create a washout underneath it, and there's always some deeper water there. So key on the deepest water you can find, and key on the shade that you can find. Now, current eddies also are good. There are areas behind rocks where the current has been broken up a little bit. These areas can be good, especially if they got some water depth around them. And you'll learn pretty quick, because you'll learn where the fish are at, creek fishing, pretty quick. Next thing, let's talk about lure selection. The key on catching fish in creeks, guys, is you have to go to small lures, even if there's good fish in it. So Some of the best lures that you can throw are going to be like a little bitty Ned rig, a little finesse jig, like a little brown or green pumpkin finesse jig is going to be really good. Maybe some type of small crankbait. I used to catch a bunch of fish in creeks on that Rebel Deep We Are. Little small crankbaits. Spinner baits, top waters, they will work occasionally, but normally if you're going to catch fish on a spinner bait or top water, it has to be a little bit bigger body of water, sort of like something you can float on. But if you're wading a creek, you've got to go small. So use light line, 6 to 8 pound test line with a spinning rod, little jigs, Ned rigs, all that type of stuff. Small worms is going to be pretty good. But the main thing, guys, is just you have to find the good creeks out there. Some of the creeks are better than others. That does take a little bit of effort because it's you're constantly moving, you're constantly wading against the current. But it's just a really good way to catch fish if you don't have a boat. And another thing with that, guys, is make sure that you release all your fish in creeks, because creek fish, they don't grow very fast. They're slow growers. There's not a big population of fish in creeks, so you can really damage a population in a creek in a hurry if you keep them. So always, make sure you release those fish. So anyway, guys, hope it helps out. We'll talk later.